Hello, welcome to AQA Accounting. In this session I'm going to go through some multiple choice questions, section A of paper 2, 2020. So I don't have a huge amount of time today to do a long video recording, but multiple choice is an area which I feel like students really underestimate, rush through, lose marks. They don't logically think about it or break it down. You've got a 25% chance of getting it right, and if you actually put some time and effort into it and rule the odd ones out, you can easily secure 10 marks, okay? And you'll know that will change your grade, okay? That will change your grade. So I'll do a walkthrough of 10 questions, the approach to take to tackling each one. You must rule the other ones out. I'll give you some tips and tricks of how to tackle it as well, so you can get the best marks, best number of marks possible. Okay, so section A, 2020, paper 2. Obviously, first thing that you'll notice is, and you should be aware of this, in paper 1 and paper 2, there are sections on the spec that are tested in both. You must see the spec on the website, refer to those sections. You might think paper 1's own financial and paper 2's management, but paper 2 there are elements of financial accounting in there. Please be aware of that. Topics like areas of limited company accounts, cash flow, cash and profit, etc. Ethics is another one, and some of the basics of accounting from the top part of the spec. 3.1 and 3.2, 3.3 I think are tested as well. So do familiarize yourself with the spec, know what is tested in paper 1 and paper 2. Anyway, let's get started. So question number 1, we're just going to have 1 to 10. Okay, and what I will do is just going to put some notes together on here for each question. Okay, just to give you a tip, when you're carrying out multiple choice, read the question, answer the question in your head, if you can, or on paper, and then compare it to what you have. Because what you might do is read the question, look at the answers, and then jump to a conclusion too quickly. Okay, so I'm going to read the question. I'm not going to look at the answers. I'm going to read the question and ask myself, do I know what the answer is without looking at the choice, and then match it up. Okay, so question 1. What transaction has a check counterfoil as the source document? So what does that mean? It means when you have a checkbook, you have, obviously when you write a check out, you tear the check out, you tear the check off, and then you give it to your supplier, okay, or someone that you're paying, okay? So the counterfoil represents the check that you've written out, that you've torn off, and it's to pay someone. So in my mind, I'm thinking check counterfoil is when I'm paying someone. That's what it's for. Okay, you can go back to the stub or the counterfoil in the future, and you can see who you wrote the check to. That's like your record of the checks that you've issued out. So it's check that we pay. Now, when you deposit a check, use a paying in slip. A is not the answer. Paid to a supplier. B seems like the answer. Returned. Now, if a check is returned, bank statement is the source document. Okay, and if you have a check dishonored, check returned, that'll be bank statement. Dishonored check from a customer, again, that will probably be bank statement as well. So bank statement, back statement. The top one there is probably paying in slip counterfoil. That one there, that's the first thing that I mentioned. So B is going to be the answer. Question 2. So question 2, J. Jones received a payment from D. Smith, whose debt had previously been written off as irrecoverable. What's the entry? Now, just by me reading that we've received a payment whose debt had previously been written off, there are two things that come to mind, two key terms. Number 1 is called debt recovery, or they may call it irrecoverable debts recovered. Okay, now if a customer's paying me, I know my bank is going to be debited, which means if I look at the options now, the first two, is between the first two. Let's compare. Do we credit irrecoverable debt recovered or D. Smith? Now the answer is A. Okay, the reason why the answer is A is because if a customer, let's say you had a relationship with a customer, and then afterwards they took all these products from you, and they basically did one. Okay, they went bankrupt. Okay, they may come back to you a few years later and say, we want to be friends now. Can you start providing me with goods again? And you'll obviously say to them, well, what about the £2,000-3,000 you owed me years ago? Can you pay some of that debt off? And they might say, okay, because they want to build a relationship with you again. So they pay you. Now, when they pay you, you debit your bank and you credit irrecoverable debt recovered. That goes into IS as a form of other income. Okay, you do not create an account for them because the account cannot be created. Why? Because it was closed off years ago. So therefore, you treat it as other income. You do not create an account because the account has been closed off years ago when you wrote the debt off. Okay, moving on. We don't need to look at the other options because we're confident the money comes into the bank. It's between A and B, and we've summarized the two. Question 3, markup. Now, when I think of markup, for me in my head, I think of markup is based on cost. Margin is based on selling price. Now, the term for me, what it's based on is the denominator. So markup is based on cost. The denominator is cost. Now, that leads me to two options, A and C. From the two, what am I going to go for? Well, markup and margin is all based on profit, gross profit, not profit from operations. So the answer is A. Question 4. Now, it says, which are credit entries of the cost of sales section? Now, as soon as I've saw that, I'm going to write out cost of sales section. So cost of sales is opening stock plus purchases minus purchase returns plus carriage inwards, okay, minus goods for own use, minus closing stock. Now, because it's opening stock plus purchases, these two are positives. Now, your positives are debits. So we're going to have a debit, credit, debit, credit, credit. Okay, and that equals cost of sales. So the question says, which are credit entries? Credits. So read number 1, carriage in. I'll just read that carriage in there. Carriage in is a debit. Incorrect, because they're asking for credit entries. A is not the answer. B is not the answer. C, closing inventory, is a credit. Goods for own use is a credit. Returns out, meaning purchase returns, is a credit. It could be C. Let's check D. You've got to rule the other one out as well. Goods for own use, correct. Opening inventory, incorrect. So the answer is C. Okay, question 5. Fred is a sole trader converting to a private limited company. He will be the only shareholder. What is a consequence of this change? A, loses limited liability. He's not losing limited liability. He is gaining limited liability from moving from a sole trader to a LTD. He is becoming. So A is incorrect. His ownership is diluted. I mean, sole trader, he was by himself. Limited company, he's by himself. Ownership is diluted? No, that's wrong. C, profits are subject to corporation tax. Okay, for a LTD, yep, he will have to pay corporation tax. And D, he receives more capital. No, because he's still the only shareholder. So C is the answer. Okay, because he will have to pay tax on profits. Question 6. Donovan is planning to expand and will require additional finance. His FP currently stands at 750 in terms of liability and equity at 1.3. Which method of funding will decrease the gearing ratio? So in terms of debentures, debentures is a form of loan, increases gearing. Bank loans increase gearing. Mortgages increase gearing. Ordinary shares reduce gearing. This is all forms of borrowing, okay? Whereas this is equity, okay? When you borrow from someone externally, you increase gearing. Gearing goes up. But if you have internal sources of finance, gearing comes down. The answer is D. Question 7. Elock runs a sweet shop. He has taken several boxes of chocolates as gifts for friends. I'm thinking drawings here. Okay, what are the ledger entries? Okay, so again, going back to here, if you take something for yourself, what happens is purchases comes down. Purchases comes down, meaning purchases you credit, and then you put it into the drawings account, and drawings goes up. Drawings is debited out of purchases into drawings. So let's have a look. I'm going to debit. This is actually drawings, don't it? This is drawings and this is purchases. Drawings debit between B and C. Okay, that's closing inventory. Nope, that's purchases. Yes, 7C is the answer. Okay, question 8. I quite like something like this. I can already see what's happening. So a business paid, this is accruals and prepayments, typical. Let's do a T account for wages. Now, if you haven't figured out how to work accruals and prepayments, I'll give you a cheat method here. Okay, so you can use something called APA or PAP. I'm going to have to briefly explain because I don't have time at the moment. PAP, APA, okay. The debit column, credit column, debit column, credit column. This is balance BD, this is balance carried down. This is at the start of the year, end of the year, start of the year, end of the year, okay. The key is knowing which one are you have to memorize this. Which one are you going to use? Now, PAP is for expenses and APA is income. You're going to have to figure out how to remember that, okay? Whatever works for you. Let's look at the question. A business paid for wages out the bank into wages. We're going to put bank in. Bank 18250. Okay. Wages at the start of the year were owing. Accrual. Owing, accrual. At the start of the year. So we need this one here, not that one. Because this is an expense account. At the start of the year, accrued. Start of the year. Check this out. 2190. Start of the year. 2190. And this is what we call balance BD. At the end of the year, owing. And owing at the end of the year. So that's going to be a debit over here of 2740. Okay, that's carried down. Balance carried down. Bit short for space, but calculator. Add these two up. 18250 plus 2740 is 2990. Take it across. Put the difference above. Minus 2190 is 18800. This goes off to your income statement. What's the question? What is the amount to be included in the income statement? 18800. The answer is C. Okay. Question 9. A business has calculated draft profit for the year. Profit is 43950. Wages were owing. Okay, so we've got two accruals and prepayments questions. Okay, so wages were owing. Now, again, logic will tell you that if you owe money, you have to record it as if you paid it because of the accruals concept. Which means if we haven't paid for something, we show that we paid for it, which means expenses go up and profit goes down by 5625. Profit goes down, okay? And then we paid for something. Bullet point number 2, insurance was paid in advance. We paid for something in advance, which means we can pay for things in advance, but we must account for it next year, meaning whatever we pay, we have to then reverse it. Expenses go down, profit goes up, we reverse 2175. Okay, calculator. 43950 minus 5625 plus 2175 equals 4500, and we're going for B. Okay, question 10. In the books of Maria, the credit balance on the payables account for Pete Traders. Okay, so Maria is the business owner. A credit balance on the payables account. So Peach Traders. Peach. Credit balance 21,850. The following has not been recorded for Peach Traders, the supplier of Maria. Okay, interest. Now, anything on this side, the balance goes up, the balance comes down. Obviously, if Peach, there's interest on the account, so that's going to increase the amount owed. Okay. And the contra entry, contra always comes on the side which reduces. Okay. Now, yep, contra. SLC, balance of the account, 21,850 plus 125 minus 580, 21,395. That's our balancing figure, just to double check. Okay, add the 2, take the difference above away, 21,395. That's your answer there. Okay. So yeah, that's just an overview of multiple choice. Obviously, some of them there's not much that you need to write down. I mean, I only started writing from like number 4, or but generally just think of the question in your head, in your mind, write something down if you need to, go match it up, and then if you're struggling, then you can think about them. Okay, same for that one. Think about what do you know already, what knowledge do you have, about the formula. Okay, and something like that you probably might want to write down because it's more visual if you're a visual learner. Something like that you don't need to write down because it's just fairly straightforward. Straightforward there about gearing, easy question there. That one there, a lot of students make the mistake with amending closing stock. No, you take something for yourself, purchases, do not change closing stock. Okay, question 7. Straightforward there. You've got to write that down. You've got to know it or you don't know it. Know it or you don't know it. That one there, that's stuff at the start of the year which you probably would have learnt. Question 8, APA and PAP. This can be used for income account, expense account. Good tip. The good tip there, yeah. Question 9 is obviously just knowing how adjustments affect profit, and the last one is knowing control accounts. Okay, so that's just a quick overview, multiple choice, and I can tell you now, in terms of your paper, which is coming up on Tuesday, 2023. Your paper next week, what I would probably advise students to do is, a lot of the time 25 markers are left till the end. Okay, they are rushed at the end. One is done properly, the second one is rushed. What you can do is, if you rush a 25 marker, you're gonna drop 1 or 2 bands at least. Okay, get the 25 markers done get one 25 marker done, then maybe do a section B just to shake your mind up. Okay, do 125, maybe do a section B question, do another 25, do another section B, and then what you could do is do section A, not multiple choice, but question 11 onwards, and then leave the multiple choice to the end, because at least if you're rushed, you've got 25% chance anyway if you're rushed for time, and they don't need a lot of thinking. Do one. If you're struggling with it, move on to the next one. Get the quick ones done. Okay, you could even do section C first, get it out the way, then section B, and then section A. But I would probably leave section A towards the end, only because if you're rushed for a written question, you don't want to rush the answer. You're better off rushing multiple choice and losing a couple of marks here or there. 25 markers, you rush, you're going to lose 5-10 marks easy. At least with this, it's going to be less impactful on your grade. That's my advice, but at the end of the day, it's up to you and what your preference is and what works for you. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.